Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, WeatherTech, Hum by Verizon, RockAuto.com, and State Farm. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
Oh, we're already started here. We haven't even begun the podcast. Hey, I'm John Davis. Welcome to MotorWeek Podcast 189. And the rowdy bunch around our table in Studio C at MotorWeek World Headquarters includes Brian Robinson, our writer-producer.
The rowdiest of
the rowdiest of them all. Online content coordinator Greg Carlos.
The second rowdiest.
Over-the-edge reporter Zach Mescal.
How you doing?
Easily the most rowdiest. And video producer and editor, the least rowdiest, Joe Ligo.
Hi.
Even that was underdone. All right, we have a lot of stories from the road, viewer questions, rant and raves. Here we go. Let's start, though, with some of the cars, as we always do. The 2018 VW Jetta, and everybody want to pile on this one. In particular, this is the latest trim level, which is a little bit more than a trim level. Brian?
Yeah, Jetta's been going back and forth between the, it's cheaper but doesn't handle as good now. Oh, now it handles better. Now it's back to the cheaper and doesn't handle as good.
They've basically taken away the independent rear suspension again.
But it looks great, and it drives plenty good for most people that would buy one. Probably most impressed with the engine, just a little 1.4-liter turbo, but it felt as good, if not better, than many 2-liters.
It's bigger inside now.
Absolutely. Yeah, the last gen Jetta kind of started that whole Volkswagen, we're going to make things bigger and cheaper for the American market. And, this one continues that theme.
Back in the good old days when all Volkswagens basically had a beam rear axle, we could go out to our track and they would lift a wheel in every slalom course that we could come up with. But they always handled better than almost anything else. Now, having said that, does this Jetta continue that kind of heritage, or do you feel that it lost a lot in going back to a non-independent rear?
Like I said, it handles plenty good for most people. It's not far and above better than like a Civic or whatever, because the new Civic, I would put them pretty equal,
Greg?
Yeah, I actually drove it last night, and I expected a little bit more from it in the handling department. Like Robinson said, it doesn't handle poorly, but it's not up to the standards of a lot of the Volkswagens we have driven lately. Mm-hmm. I will say that the fuel economy was great on the highway. I was easily seeing in the 40s consistently. It can get a little bit loud on the inside, but another maybe it was just me or maybe the mood I was in. It is bigger on the inside, but it just like everything felt like dainty, if that's the word to me. Yeah, like the door handles felt small in my hands. The steering wheel was like light in feel and just like thin. The side view mirrors were a little bit too small. I just felt like I was hulking out of this car.
You're like Andre the Giant.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's weird because I know it is bigger, but to me it felt small. But again, I did just come out of an Odyssey for a week.
When you look at it, it looks so much like a Passat now. It's easy to get them confused.
Well, we have a Passat in right now at the same time. Yeah. The point I was trying to make is I like the styling of the previous generation a lot more. The Golf and the Jetta had this sort of family feel going on. They looked like a nice, clean, crisp sheet of folded paper. This one, I don't know.
A little more Asian influence in the body style.
I guess. I don't know. The styling just doesn't do it for me in this particular case. But the powertrain stuff, the point that Brian made earlier, it's a great little engine.
But then your favorite car is a 1950s Nash, right?
Well, yeah,
Anything you say holds no water.
Zach, any comments?
I took it for a quick spin. I haven't been able to spend a lot of time with it. I did notice the extra room. That was cool. And once you said that, it started really making me think just a second ago, the Asian influence look about it.
In the back, it has this little Hyundai in it.
Yeah, a little more swoopy. Yeah. And so once you said that, I really see that now. So
I like the car. I do also. I actually agree with Joe. I moving away from that kind of sharp edged Teutonic look that I equate with, Golfs and Jettas, kind of makes me feel like they're giving in. But I understand they want market share. They want to go from 2.5% to 5% in the U.S. They've got to make their cars appeal more to Americans. So I get it. I still think the car handles better than almost anything else in its class. So it may be cheaper underneath the skin, but I'm not so sure you've given up that much. I do think they've improved on the instrumentation and the infotainment system. It still looks a little throwbackish, but it's better.
The digital gauges. I think I'm not sure if they're standard or an option, but they look nice.
Yeah, with like up-level trim.
Yeah, that's
SEL premium.
I will say we have a VW. We have a lot of VWs in right now. We have a Golf Sport Wagon in right now, and I just had that for
which we all love.
4-day weekend.
I mean, I have to say that's.
And
that's
if you gave me the
car.
choice between that or the Jetta, that Golf Sport Wagon is a great little thing to scoot around.
I just
in.
want seats in it.
Yeah.
I want more plush seats in that thing, and I'll drive it every day.
Very hard and short on the bottom cushions. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to another car that is fairly controversial as well, and that's the 2019 Honda Insight. Not to go too far back in history, but the original Insight was a really weird little bucket, and there was a second generation that mildly caught on as a hybrid. Now, Honda has pretty much said, okay, if you can't beat the Prius, we're going to basically try and do something very, very similar. 1.5-liter hybrid, 1.5-liter gas engine with a hybrid electric powertrain, 151 horsepower, CVT trans. That all sounds very normal for a hybrid. They have started, however, with the Civic chassis instead of doing a clean sheet of paper, which I say good for you because they started with an excellent car.
Yes.
Do we finally have from Honda a real Prius challenger, or is it too late?
Well, I would say no, because they actually went to a sedan body style, which Prius remains a hatchback.
More useful.
And the fuel economy numbers still aren't there. They're closer, but they're still not there. They did go, the first two Insights had the IMA system, which was not a full hybrid. This one is the same system that's in the Accord 2-motor system. And the electric motor's actually a direct drive to the front wheels. But then similar to the Chevy Volt, you can get direct engine power as well through an electronic CVT, not a traditional CVT.
Yeah, it's very different. But this is really it's almost more of an advanced hybrid like the Volt is than it is a Prius. As far as you're almost always running on electric power.
Correct, and yet it doesn't get as good a fuel economy.
Yeah.
But Zach knows a lot more. He's actually driven it, so let's turn it to Zach.
The instantaneous kick of the electric motor around town was immediately noticeable. I think it's a great job by Honda overall. I think the platform was certainly a good choice. And once you get up higher into the touring models, you get these fluid-filled compliance bushings, which certainly made a difference over bumps. I mean, I would almost certainly have to opt for that. I thought.
So you think this is a more sophisticated feeling car?
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit more enjoyable to drive. And I kept throwing it in sport mode, of course, but it was a little loud for me. It's way too loud. They need to not, do what they did with that. But other than that, I mean, noise wasn't really getting into the cabin too much, and it felt like pretty well balanced for what it was. And I don't know. We didn't mind driving around for the couple days that we had it. We shot a full road test, and we really didn't mind being inside of it, whereas I can't say the same for other cars that are like it.
Priuses are not, even though they have electric assist, they're not known for their energy off the line. That was the first thing that you mentioned with the Insight.
Yeah.
So it really had more of a pure electric feel to it.
Yeah, it did. And I think the whole CVT things and, just everyone – we always used to really, I felt like, rant a couple years ago about, non-standard transmissions as to where it's now becoming normal. Something, that I really didn't mind being in. So that was another thing that I could praise.
But it is a different type of transmission.
Yeah, like I say, the power comes directly from the electric motors most of the time. The only time you get direct engine power is when a clutch in the eCVT kicks in at like highway speeds.
Yeah.
I guess the overall question for me is like the original Insight was huge at the time. Second gen, which most people, even Honda, would say was a failure. They tried to go cheaper. Mm-hmm. And this one, they've kind of made it a premium to slot in between the Civic and Accord, which also seems odd to me because it's basically the system you can get in the Accord with a smaller engine. Not to mention they have this whole Clarity lineup with a plug-in hybrid and a full EV. So again, to me, it's
if you were a buyer,
much nicer.
You'd be confused.
Correct. It's going to be the odd man out again, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like they still won't. Like they won't line up directly against a Prius. It's either a little bit cheaper or a little bit more expensive.
Right, and I think that was part of the reason they went to the sedan. They want to avoid that.
Yeah, I don't think they wanted head-to-head competition.
As opposed to a Hyundai Ioniq, which said, Prius, I'm coming for you.
Which good, because they did.
With the Clarity, they've already got a direct competitor for the Prius. Okay, so the judgment's still out on the inside. I think we can agree, though, it is a step up and accoutrements from the Civic, but we'll see if their hybrid finally has the right formula. Something that I want to talk about is there's two segments coming up, so they're not actually vehicles, but we've got the producers right here. So I'm going to start with Zach. You've got an over-the-edge segment with BMW, MPact, and Radwood. You want to tell us what they are and what was your experience? What are we going to see?
Yeah, so MPact, M-P-A-C-T, it's pretty much a BMW show in the Poconos in Pennsylvania.
At the raceway.
At the raceway, and it's also a car show. So not only is it a judged car show, there's 1,800-foot roll racing, there's drivers training around the road course, there's a drift taxi. It's just something going on the entire day, and I'm still not sure I've regained my hearing from 2 weekends ago. I mean, my ears were ringing. I should have took earplugs. I'm getting old, but it was just a blast, man. And just the fact that, I've been into M cars since, forever. The E30 M3 got me hooked, and that's pretty much what this show kind of pays homage to, the M3 line, and of course now we have the M4. And there were other, cars welcome. There were 800 horsepower Supras. There was an Audi R8 V10 supercharged. He took some little kid for a ride. His dad just asked if he could. So, I mean, it's just one of those places that you just want to be at. Everyone was just so pumped and amped to be there. And it wasn't just people walking around looking at cars. There was action going on. So you'd walk up, check out some roll races, go look at all the cars sitting there being waited to be judged, and go around. So there's just something to do the whole day. I need stuff going on.
This is the first car show I've ever seen you come back from that you were genuinely excited about. And I take it's because you did a whole lot more than just walk around and look.
It also might be because I got to drive the guy who puts it on, Jason. I got to drive his turbo E46 M3. And turbo E46 Ms to me have just been like the holy grail for like the longest time. And it's just funny, I've never actually driven one before. And then I got in there and it was pretty much everything that I wanted it to be. It was huge precision, turbo 6266, I think. So, once you're up past like 555, it just kicks you in the face and then you're gone. So he let me drive that thing, and I just had a blast.
That made your day. Radwood.
Oh, yeah. Radwood, I think it started in California, Greg.
Yeah. It's, shout out to my friend there, Bradley Brownell. Kind of hooked us up on that one, or at least turned me on to it. And I've seen it, and I'm sure you got to know a lot more about it. But everything I can tell, you're going to have a blast because it's all about cars from like the late 80s, early 90s. But it's like all like
people
everybody
dress up like
everybody gets into it. And
Yeah.
You show up there and you're stepping back into
It's a
the
costume
90s.
party.
It's like a
exactly,
poor man's
which is fun.
Goodwood, right? Is that the deal?
I think so.
Essentially,
yeah.
and that's what they're
But
trying
it's
to
rad,
make it. They
and there's
don't.
lots of colors.
Yeah, it's super rad, super analog.
Fanny packs.
Fanny
Parachute
packs. I got
pants.
my parachute pants
Bag
ordered.
phone, everyone with their bag phones.
I got my checkered Vans. I mean, I'm amped. Like I cannot wait, and I absolutely love 80s and 90s
How big
cars
was
as it is.
Was it? It sounded to me.
So that's coming up this weekend.
This is their first East Coast.
First East Coast
but
one.
the California
at
one's
Road
taking
Atlanta.
off like crazy.
Oh, yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much what this thing is supposed to be. They don't want it to be a bunch of, rich guys. They want it to be, you've kind of probably saved up for this car and, you've put a lot of your own, elbow grease and time and love into it. So I think maybe you're just going to kind of feel that passion more of a connection with the owners and stuff like that, especially with the stuff that you're really
Sounds
familiar
like
with.
Comic-Con meets car show or something like that. I mean, it's like
It is.
Was it at Road Atlanta, right? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
part of Grid Life, too.
Part of Grid Life.
should be pretty awesome.
I hope I get to help edit the video for your Radwood segment.
Start thinking about music like now.
Oh yeah. I am so
Start thinking about better music.
Consult with Benny D and myself, and we'll figure it out.
I was gonna say I'm so pumped to see 80s and 90s cars finally kind of get their due in the collector show circuit. It's just so many. They might not be the fastest cars out there.
They weren't the fastest, that's for sure.
But it's some of them. Some of the designs and stuff are so wacky and so cool. I can't wait to see what you come back with.
It's going to be good.
All right, to a segment that I'm envious about, Brian.
Really?
I've been to Sturgis, but not when the motorcycle rally was going on, and it reminded me of a motion picture back lot with all these buildings that were completely lifeless. I think there was one bar and one hotel that was open. You, however, have been to the motorcycle rally, and you not only went there, you rode across country to get there on a bike.
And you survived.
Tell us about the experience.
Like you say, the town really comes alive first week of August. It's the biggest motorcycle rally by far in the U.S., quite possibly the biggest event in the U.S., between 400,000 and 500,000.
400,000 and 500,000
people come, every year, and it's hard to estimate. The thing I didn't realize, there's the town of Sturgis, which if you go there, the streets are packed with thousands of motorcycles. But if you go anywhere outside of it, within like a 50-mile radius, every town in that area is packed full of bikes. Every hotel, every campground, every farmer's field. I mean, everywhere you go, there's motorcycles, and they're on the road.
I think there's more
everywhere.
people than there are in the state, almost.
I'm sure, the population doubles.
Yeah, where exactly is Sturgis?
It's southwestern South Dakota, not too far from Custer, which is near where the big presidents on the rock are at Mount Rushmore.
I'm glad you asked, because I was also wondering the same
Okay,
thing.
thanks. Okay, cool. Because I saw your pictures and they looked awesome.
But I think everyone hears about all the bikers there and all the partying and all that, which is a part of it.
Get there and it's pillow fights, right?
No, but what I didn't get is just all the great roads in that area. I mean,
There are
people
a lot of
ride
terrific
all day
roads.
long.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, beautiful roads and nothing but bikes on them. And, then they party all night. There's every night for 10 nights, they got bands playing all over the place. And
If you've never been to South Dakota, you don't realize what the wide open country is like.
it's not quite Wyoming, but
Yeah,
it's pretty close.
It's close.
But yeah, it's like Mardi Gras. Everyone should experience it once. Once you have,
And then never again.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that. But,
No, I think he's ready
That's
to
Vegas
go back.
for me.
I think he's ready.
Now,
to go back.
what about the bike you took?
I rode an Indian Roadmaster. I always said I would never go unless I could, ride out there. I didn't want to just show up out there. And Indian was happy enough to supply me with a Roadmaster to ride out there. Put about 2,000 miles on it over 3 days, and I kind of felt like I cheated, though. I mean, I've ridden cars that aren't that comfortable, so I was like looking forward to all the biker cred I would earn,
Right.
and then I was like, but it wasn't,
And you show up and they think, oh,
it was
up
like
for it,
super
though.
comfortable.
Didn't you? You didn't even stay in a hotel or anything.
No,
Did you
just
even have
camped.
Did you have a
That's it.
tent?
No, just
Didn't see. That's what I'm
Sleep on
talking
it.
about.
Slept on the
slept under
ground.
the stars.
Mention it. He thinks that he cheated because he drove a comfortable motorcycle 2,000 miles.
But he didn't stay in a motel.
And he doesn't even
stay in the
that.
tent.
He's my idol.
swear the Cowboys did it. I'm riding my steel horse out there.
Coming up soon on MotorWeek.
That'll be cool.
All right, we're going to move on to a viewer question. It won't be nearly as entertaining. But Jerry from West Bend, Wisconsin, he asked, I own and maintain rental properties and use my Subaru Outback to haul tools and supplies. I'll soon have 150,000 miles. I want something quicker, more comfortable on the highway. Still need all-wheel drive and room for cargo. I'm toying with the idea of a Volvo or Mercedes wagon, but reliability is a concern. Any suggestions from the group at the table?
Has he not heard of SUVs or pickup trucks? I mean,
Some people
the Volvo
want
and
to sit
Mercedes.
lower to the ground.
No, I understand, but I mean, pretty much
insult him.
every SUV out there would satisfy those criteria.
Even a new Outback, which which is a little bit bigger than probably the one he's got.
Yeah.
But we had some other suggestions before we went on the air. We were talking about that Golf sport wagon we've got.
Right. The Golf is maybe a little smaller than the Outback, but it's as I was saying earlier, it's plenty of room, plenty of power, and a very likable car if you can handle the seats being a little harder, or just a higher. He said I trimmed down his email because it was a couple paragraphs. He also said he wants some kind of like a little bit nicer, more luxurious. I said you could get an Outback in a higher trim level than maybe the one he has now.
Here's the thing: you've got an Outback, you've got the VW, which has got an incredible warranty. If you go the route, Jerry, of a Volvo V70, which I love, and I used to own one, or a Mercedes, just be looking at a lot more maintenance costs when you get beyond the warranty. I mean, you're going to pay for it. Oil changes are expensive. All their preventive maintenance is expensive. That's going to be true of just about any European car, with the possible exception of and you mentioned it, Joe, the Touareg from Buick.
Yes, the Buick Regal Touareg.
Opal.
Yes, it's a little. I don't know exactly the interior space versus an Outback, but the Touareg at least looks a little bigger.
Similar size.
Yeah.
And it has all-wheel drive standard, I believe.
In the Touareg.
Yes, with the name Touareg. Right.
And it's a likable enough wagon with lots of room.
I think it's actually very pretty.
Oh, wild card, the Toyota Venza. Do they still make that?
Yes, they still do, I believe.
Yeah.
I think they do. I'm not sure it's going to come back, but I think it is still made. If not,
sure.
there's
I don't think they made it.
I think they stopped production a couple.
That was made
you
in
could get
Georgetown.
you could get a
There's
used
so
one.
many of them around.
Yeah, I see them all the time on the
So you could get a used Venza.
Yeah.
Yeah, super comfortable,
Yep.
surprisingly luxurious, and the Camry's 3.5 liter 6 in there.
It's basically a Camry
Faster.
wagon.
Yeah.
That was a nice pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Very
if you're
good.
buying
Very
it
good.
used,
Very good.
you'll save some money.
Rant and raves. I've got a quick one. It's nothing new, but just lately it's just getting on my nerve. Just how dumb do tailgaters think the people in front of them are? I mean, every time you go out now, you've got some jerk on your tail, usually so close to you can't see the emblem on the grill.
And they beep you before the light even turns green.
You're going, and in that case too, they think you're going to get intimidated and move out of their way, when in reality you're probably going to slow down. They have no concept of stopping power, because so many of them now are in full-size pickup trucks. You're in a car, you can stop in 20% less distance. How dumb do they think everybody else is? Or am I missing something?
No.
When you buy these vehicles, do you get a stupid card license with it?
Wow.
I like this rant.
I drove that Nissan
This
Z.
did not come from me, people.
I drove
This
that
did not
Nissan
come
Z the other weekend, which is a manual, and I was in a pretty hilly town, and you're at a stoplight doing this, and here's this guy getting as close as he can behind you, and you're like, oh, come on, buddy.
I think they need to raise speed limits.
I think people
Need to raise speed limits. Oh, that's a good one. And your rationale.
Too slow. I mean,
Okay.
Well, I don't know. if
Different
that's
speeds for different lanes, maybe like the Chinese do.
It comes back to just making sure people know how to drive. And I'm going to try and give people the benefit of the doubt, and maybe they just don't know the rules.
Or how
I
long
hope
it will
that's
take
not
them
the
to
case.
stop.
That's
just
what I
hope
was
that's
going to
the
say.
case.
Yeah, I think that people are just largely clueless.
Yeah, you see people in the left lane just cruising along like they don't understand.
Well, that's the other thing. 50 mile an hour and a 60 mile an hour.
And then, God
zone in the
forbid, you
left lane.
pass. Another thing I noticed, like driving to Ocean City, is even if everybody's doing the right thing, you have somebody in the right lane going slow, and you're making the pass on the left. There's something about humans that they don't like being passed.
They press down
almost
on the
every time.
accelerator.
It's like, I'm going to pass you at 70, 75, and now it's 80. And it's like, come on, man.
Let me around.
Everybody's cool. It's not like it's not a personal attack on you. I'm just going a little bit
faster than you are.
I think that they should do for everybody what they do with seniors, that you have to get your driver's license renewed every couple years or something. Every
Take the
10.
driver's test.
Yeah. And then you also get your insurance premium goes down. I'd be all for that. Get tested every couple years. Your premiums go down.
Well, they don't even, in our state of Maryland now, they don't even give you a driver's test. No, they don't do parallel parking. You get a driver's test, but you don't have to parallel park.
I can't believe what people do. I'm always checking in my rear view, and if I see an ambulance or something coming from way back, I'll do like the smartest thing at the moment, where other people literally just slam on their brakes, like in the left lane. If like the next two are open, they'll just slam on their brakes in that lane.
Driver etiquette, driver education. I'm not sure either one of those words apply anymore.
Yeah, I had an ambulance like 3 or 4 cars back the other day, and then I pulled over, and then everyone just passed me. Like, there goes an ambulance back there, but that's all right. We got places to go.
Of course, I like the guys that will tuck in behind the ambulance and go as fast as they're trying to use them as to break the crowd up.
Slipstream.
Right. I think I started something, and now I'm going to end it all. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching and listening to our MotorWeek podcast. It's been my pleasure to be here today with Brian Robinson, Greg Carlos, Zach Maskell, and Joe Ligo. And for all of you that are our fans, we thank you very much. Be sure to catch MotorWeek, the television series, on your local public television station and on Velocity Cable Channel. You can go onto our website, motorweek.org, pull down at the top, and you'll see our schedule tab. And you can find us anywhere, almost in the world, that has television. Thanks to everybody around the table. Thanks to you again, and we hope to see and hear you soon on MotorWeek.
You've been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, WeatherTech, Hum by Verizon, RockAuto.com, and State Farm. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series, each week on your local PBS station.